We have arrived, guys. We've got all our awesome rests, sites. We are at the Bow Rack in Eugene. Drove up here early this morning. We're here before opening hours. I called Wayne and he said, yeah, I can meet you early. Let's do it. So we're gonna do a bow build today. My whole thing about the bow building side of things, I didn't grow up like working and tinkering on my bow. I always went to a pro shop all my life. Cody, he grew up, he actually, you know, worked at Waldron's and built bows and whatever, rigging bows. How about that? I didn't. I cut timber. That was my background. So my motto is, you know what? I wouldn't have someone go cut their trees in their yard, you know, just off of a whim, because it's super dangerous. Same way I look at bows. I don't know squat about them. So Wayne does. He's like the best. He's done hundreds and hundreds of these things, of this exact bow probably this year. I mean, he's done that many. So we're gonna go in here. Wayne's gonna hook me up and we're gonna be shooting bullets here shortly. Oh. Where do you want to start?
Just throw it all up
Just
right
chuck
here.
it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sights and rests. See you, brother.
See you. Yeah, pink.
Went with it.
Yeah, you've done that for a while.
Oh yeah, my daughter always picks them out.
Yeah.
So it's her way of, when she watches the videos, she gets giggling. So
Yeah.
it's good.
So we got a Hamsky, you know, arrow rest here, and basically everything that we're gonna do, old boning, Tex-Tite, I love it. Everything, you know, from nocks and arrows to field tips going in, everything I dress with wax. You know, when you go to tighten something up, you know, you got mild steel and then you got aluminum sleeves or whatever. You know, when you've got that kind of thing going on, when it chafes, you know, you're tightening up and it goes kink like that, you think you got it tight, but actually it's not. Actually, it just decided to chafe a little bit. So then, you know, over time, you know, even though these bows have very little vibration, over time that little bit of vibration, you know, can wiggle anything loose. But a little dab of, you know, Tex-Tite on all your bolts, you know, even nocks that fit tight, anything, it's going to let it rotate. It's not going to smell, and it's never going to deteriorate. I kind of like torque tuning. You know, we're going to run this Hamsky back as far as possible. I'm pretty picky about, you know, how. And see, there's no chink like that. Yeah. So, you know, like I say, mild steel and aluminum, it's going to kink like that, and then you can't go anymore because you know, you're threatening to, you know, strip the thread. But see that right there? I can even get just a little bit more. Now that's tight. We're going to, of course, pin it. And my little pinning screw, you know, you can even take that out and you can dress that. And that just, you know, some of these pinning screws too, oh my gosh, on different rests, you know, they go in hard and they come out hard. But, you know, just, you know, that's just important. We do it, you know, it doesn't matter what bolt we're putting in a bow.
What do you think of the Hamsky rest?
Oh, it's a fantastic rest. I mean, as far as engineering goes, I mean, look at this thing. Yeah. I mean, you got a saddle here, you know, that basically saddles your whole, you know, dual bearings on both sides. I mean, you know, what a great rest. You know, it's pretty awesome. So what happens with the spring? And you know, you guys are, you know, pretty hardcore on your stuff. You know, if we're walking along, we got this tied up, and you know, we hit this. See, you know, that if that thing gets stretched out, and you know, you go to load an arrow and this thing's straight up. You know, it's a great option because it allows, you know, it allows that thing not to bounce, you know, because there's spring tension against it and everything. And it's totally up to you whether we mount this up hard and solid on this cord or whether you run the spring.
What do you recommend for the type of, like for the brush country?
Brush country.
Where you know
well,
exactly where I'm hunting.
Of course, if I say, oh, you should run the spring,
and
you wind up somewhere and this thing's standing straight up and the spring's stretched out, then you're going to go, that, you know, that was bad advice.
Is the spring quieter?
I wouldn't say it's going to do anything for noise.
For noise? Okay.
No. If you're worried about noise with the cord, you can throw a monkey tail on that baby and take if there is any. And I don't think there's going to be.
Yeah, let's just do it however you recommend.
Okay.
This is the little things like putting on this thing and taking off this spring and stuff. Like in the normal stuff that everyday hunters probably hunt, New Mexico, Arizona, stuff like that. Probably you wouldn't need to, obviously, but we're in super, super thick brush all the time. So Wayne says, yeah, I just recommend you just take it off and go straight to the rest. Simple deal. Yeah. I stand here while he does it.
Now this little tightener they got is kind of trick, because if the cord ever stretches out, you can you can just tighten it up on your own without, you know.
That's what he said about this Trinity. He says on the fly, he says you don't need any Allen wrenches to fix it.
Right.
He said that's what he recommended. This one rather than the what's the other one? The Hybrid Hunter, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So this right here, this is gonna be our cord tightener here. We're gonna flip this around and then we're gonna cinch this up because it cinches up on the shaft here. So we're gonna put that back in. But we took the spring out, and then we're gonna just basically put this back together solid without the spring. So what I like to do here is I just double lasso this baby. So you go around twice, you know, and it's a little harder to get it to cinch up.
Oh, and it's got a little rough pad on the bottom.
I got to work on it a little bit, you know. And that rubber pad right there, that's a good rubber pad. It won't let it.
I see.
And you kind of got to give it some English there. Make sure that baby is just cinched on there good, and it's never going to come undone. There's all kinds of knots to use. I just, you know, the same knot I use for the string loops is the same knot. You know, it's good enough for a string loop. It's good enough for that right there.
Sure.
Trent, which ring are we doing?
Small one.
Yeah. Be my choice. We set a perfect center shot, and you know, after 30 years, everybody's like, "Oh, there's all kinds of tools and everything," but after 30 years, you know, your eye better be good enough to set a center, or you're just not worth your beans. And so there's center, there's perfect center, and you know, there's a couple ways that do-it-yourself guy can do it. You know, so you can come out here and you can look down that thing, and you can see it's just perfect center right there.
Right.
You know, yeah, it's going to be centered perfectly, and then we're going to work from there.
Okay.
And on Hoyts, you don't have a burger hole on these babies, you know, so you kind of like, you can look over from this side and you can see, and so the bottom of the shaft on a Hoyt should be just about this far in the burger right there. Okay. You know, if you get it lower than that, if you have any knuckles sticking up here, your fletch is going to strike it. It's not going to strike the riser, but it's going to, that fletch coming out of there is going to strike your finger. And anybody that's ever set a bow up, just try to get it low in the window, and then, you know, they've got any kind of broken wrist palm in, and they've got any kind of finger that just is sitting there, they're going to get struck with that fletch. I mean, I've done it,
right.
You know, because I always try to push that level, you know, on that. You know, I've had to raise up just slightly to where, you know, when I'm in there with a broken wrist palm in, that I'm not striking that fletch right there. You don't want that. I mean, you know, that's that. But I do like to, you know, on Hoyts, you know, I've listened to a lot of stories. I mean, somebody like Jesse Broadwater, who shot for Hoyt forever, he would always set them up a little bit high on the burger. You know, I watched his kind of setup thing, you know, and I would have to agree, you know, that's about where, you know, I like to be, is just a hair high on the burger. So if you looked across there, you could see that, you know, we're crossing through on the burger hole, because like I say, the carbons, you don't have the option of looking at a burger. So
gotcha.
Anyway, that's just typical of a setup there. You're shooting an index style release.
Yes, I am.
So, you know, typically this is our finish. So see how stiff that was? It keeps its form, and it steers this, and then we stretch and we tie in different.
Okay.
You know, we tie through the knots here, and we tie past the ball, and that cinches. And you can see this is well worn. And you know, this bow's had, you know, thousands of arrows. This is Trent's bow, and it's a year old, and you know, he shoots daily. And pretty much, he's probably reserved this twice, but pretty much the loop will last the life of the string.
Still never moves.
Because this stuff is just like iron. Perfect. You know, and if anybody's wondering what the name of it, I think Gag Archery still actually manufactures this stuff. But you know, we get it through string companies, because he quit selling directly to the public. You know, so we get it through Gas Bowstrings, which, you know, it's just fantastic stuff. And you know, it holds its shape. You know, it doesn't get sloppy, it doesn't get soft.
Sure.
And there's just kind of a whole rodeo to it. It's difficult to work with. Probably a lot of shops just wouldn't like it because it's so difficult to work with.
blows out their face.
So I flour these pretty heavy, you know, and then I'm pretty picky on how they flour because one, I want a round ball. A lot of guys will flatten these, and it looks uniform when they flatten them, but you know, I kind of want this round ball effect, and I'll show you why here in just a little bit. One, and then I'm slow on heating it because if you fry these, you know they can just fall off. And then a lot of times, you know, I'll quit and come back to it, I'll let it cool a little bit, and I'll finish it. But, you know, I try to get that stuff spread out, because the more spread out the material is, the better it'll ball. And you know, strength, integrity, and then the round ball, you know, being round, like I said, I'll show you why that's important here in a little bit. And then I don't want any really rough edges on it either. So I take my time on these, and you know, all my guys, you know, have their own method. You know, we pretty much do everything the same, but we just kind of got a little bit different way of getting there a lot of times.
Gotcha.
I don't know where we're gonna wind up for peep height, but I'm gonna guess we're gonna be somewhere right in here. There's lots of draw boards, and anybody can have a draw board. Heck, you can pull a bow back physically. But you know what's pretty trick about this is it's just gonna make it precise. So right here, we're just gonna look at our factory. You know where we're at factory, and you know a little light because we don't have really good light back here. So we're going to look at where we're at wheel timing wise, just right straight out of the box. So we're going to bring this one around, this draw stop right here. We're going to bring it around. It's just barely touching there. See, we got 1/8 to 1/4 gap right there.
Oh, I see. Between the draw stops.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And from the factory, giving them the credit, I mean, they could have set it, but you know, on cam and halves, this is the bus cable side. This is your split harness bus. It's carrying the whole load all the time. You know, basically the control cable, this one, you know, and is basically this one and the string carry 50%. And so that bus has got every bit of the load on it. So because it has all the load, it's under a lot of tension. Basically, we're gonna get that wheel timing set right. So we're gonna kind of bounce back and forth here between the press.
Between the press and that?
Mm-hmm. And I like to just go to the split harness right here to do the adjustment, because you know, one, you can get it fine, you know, really fine. You know, you can do half turns or whatever. And of course, the blind guy's gotta always remember which one. I've seen these turn different ways. So we put just like a turn and a half there, and a turn and a half.
So our ultimate goal is obviously to get it to hit the stop at the same exact time.
Yeah, and you don't want to make a whole bunch of movements getting there, you know. So I go a little bit at a time. I might walk back and forth here a couple times to get that set correctly.
And this is where a guy that's working out of his backyard, or I mean, without these proper tools, you can't do any of this. I mean, you can do it.
So now,
pretty close.
Yeah, so now we're going to get our light on there. We're going to see. And what this is going to do too is when a guy draws a bow, especially on a Hoyt or a cam and half, if you draw it and you're spongy, it's like, why is that sponging? You know, and if you're just not sure, it's probably wheel timing, because it should just go whoop.
Lock out.
It should lock out. You should have good aiming, you know, and there's guys that have all kinds of theories on, you know, where that timing should be set. So there, see, we're coming down, we're just touching, and we're still open. So, but we're just barely open. I mean, we're a 1/16 of an inch open on the top. So we're gonna go fix that. Like I say, I like to go into it easy rather than flip-flopping it back and forth.
Gotcha.
You know, so
small increments at a time.
Exactly. Because of it. Yeah, we still do it with, you know, low poundage bows,
tiny low poundage.
You know, rather than do this. But high poundage bows, yeah, I'm saving my shoulders. But if a guy does, if he's checking his own timing, load an arrow.
Oh yeah. Don't do that. Half possible dry fire issue.
Yeah. Now see, we flip flop there, just and that was a half a turn, and we flip flop. So see, we're touching,
Just off.
We're just off. So we're going to go back and we're going to take a half. We're going to take a half out of the right side. And the reason why we're going to take a half out of the right side is typically when we're yoke tuning, if we have to yoke tune, we're going to yoke tune on the left side. Because typically any of the bows, when we shoot them and they shoot through paper and you have perfect center set, you know, we're always winding up, you know, putting twists into, unless it's already twisted up too much, then we're taking them out. But
Gotcha.
we're just going to take a half out of this right side, and just one half, and so that should micro us back. So there's one half out right there. Put that baby back on. We're jumping back in there, and in a perfect world, it'll be perfect.
Should
timing.
be good.
And then we'll mark it, and I'm going to show you. That's a key, is to mark that timing. That's going to be a real key. And I don't know if we can get better than that.
It's darn close. It's about the same. Looks like it.
It's perfect. So they're touching the same. So
Yeah.
So we are really good right there. So we're gonna mark it. So we're gonna mark it. Both sides of the cam, top and bottom. Just like that. So pretty much we'll do one more thing before we go tune. That way when we walk out there, we'll be able to do both. We're gonna set second, third axis on this sight.
Okay.
Anytime you have a slider sight, any sight's important to do this that has a second and third axis adjustment, which most all, you know, your higher end sights now do. And there's just some things that are crucial that you have to do that. Level. And Chris, we were kind of having to use string levels and everything in the beginning, but Chris made us this perfect little, even used, you know, some tape on here to get it perfect. But we have to do shim because Hoyt, you know, some bows will use this side, but Hoyts, they actually have a thinner limb on the top. This limb's narrow, and a big wide platform on the bottom.
Really?
So that shim right there makes it perfect.
Makes it perfect level.
So I'll get the bow back vertical, and then I'm gonna get it. So right there we're set. So we're perfect level there. So, and now if you look at your sight, the sight's not level.
The bubble in the sight.
The bubble of the sight's not level.
Gotcha.
It's not bad, but it's hugging.
Correct.
The right side.
So,
which that far off, if you were bubbled up perfect, you know, that's 3.5 inches at 40 yards.
that much.
Because you're tipping it. You'd have to tip it to, you know, to the right.
Right.
To level up.
Right.
And so, but then as you run that up and down, and of course as you get further yardage, it's going to amplify.
Sure.
It's kind of a push me pull you little deal. It's these two bolts right here, and you know, some of the sights, you know, like if you have an Excel sight, they are probably the simplest to set. Let's see, that brought that level right back perfect.
Okay.
If you can come around here and look at the level, you'll see that that's perfect. And there's nothing to loosen or tighten. You know, you simply go into these two little screws right here, and you loosen one,
tighten the other.
push the other, and it'll push it right over. And then once you reset them, they're tensioned against each other. And this bolt, it's kind of a trick setup because, you know, these are both tensioning, and this bolt is not going to come loose because it has
Right.
two tensioners on it right there. And you heard that snapping right there.
Yep.
So, you know, there again, that's something that, you know, a guy could dress those threads.
could dress them.
Yeah, you could dress those threads because they don't have anything on them, and they're.
Yeah.
But, you know, a lot of times those inset screws aren't the ones that are ever going to come loose.
Right.
So we're golden. We're golden there, and I always love to double check everything. And we're going to even get a little pickier on that. Because once and see that's kind of the trick part of that, is once I cinch that back up.
Came out just a hair, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Oh, we don't like that. we're gonna do it, might as well be done. Perfect. There, and so that went perfect because.
Yeah, that's right on.
Beautiful. And so from there, so we know the bow's plumb.
Okay.
We know the level's plumb, so we're gonna install. Then this secondary level is gonna tell us that our bow is, and I like to go a little flat spot right here on Hoyt. And on a lot of guys, you know, they're gonna find out, you know, when they do this, that there isn't an exact machine portion of a carbon riser that, you know, is exact on. So see, right there, if you look at our secondary level, see we've got that level. Now that's going to tell us that our bow's level. Okay. All the time.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to go out and we're going to hit the Hooter shooter, and that's where the key comes in.
This will be the third axis.
This is third. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
That we're going to set.
Gotcha.
Have paper.
There you go.
So part of this is that I've never pressed a bow, and there's a lot of good risers out there, but when you press a bow, you can actually watch the riser flex. I don't care what bow it is. I mean, every single, you know, riser flexes. And, you know, of course, this little jewel right here, she's been used a billion times, but I'll bring these bows to full draw.
Okay.
And so, you know, we bring the bow to full draw. So it's under tension. So this is normally your typical aiming. And so if there is any flex in the riser at all, even the slightest, I mean, it might as well be perfect. So, you know, you bring the bow to full draw.
Okay.
And then, of course, this is going to simulate an up or downhill shot. It doesn't matter whether you're aiming uphill or downhill, you know, to set a third axis. It's just the same.
Same.
You know, and so now we have this horseshoe right here. You know, Spot Hog's nice enough to send you the cutoff.
The Allen.
So if you get that, if you get a Spot Hog sight, you're like, what do I do with that? Well, of course, it's for this second and third axis right there.
Okay.
Yeah. And so from here, you know, what we can do and what's precise is we're going to look at that Hamsky level, and we're going to just take that Hamsky level to where the Hamsky is perfect. And oh yeah, look at where we're at on this level here. So you were 100 out. So what that would do is if we are aiming, let's say we have a side hill, you know, shot, and we got like, you know, maybe a 30 or 35 degree downhill angle, and we're shooting at that animal, and we level up, that arrow is going to track like this, you know, because of that level.
Because of that level. It's
yeah,
not
if it's not
on,
that arrow is going to track, and it's like, oh my gosh, I felt good about that shot. And I just shot 6 or 8 inches to the right at 40 yards on this downhill shot. What did I do?
Why?
Yeah, because I felt good about it, and I was leveled up. Well, if this isn't set, it
doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. We have to go this way to bring that level back.
Okay.
And you know, a third axis is just a hinge this way.
Okay.
You know, the second axis is the hinge vertically this way.
Gotcha.
The third axis is the hinge this way. You know, so basically we're gonna.
Which prevents from that veer. I got you.
And that brought the level halfway back, so we're going to do a little bit more.
A little bit more.
And it's not a whole bunch. I mean, you know, it's like that much.
Same as kind of the draw board, just do a little at a time.
Well, a little at a time, yeah. You
check it.
But I mean, you know, they adjust really quick, of course, because that's on a hinge. Oh, and look at where we're at now.
Perfect.
Yeah, see that level?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, come around here, Trent. And
Yeah,
that way you got better eyes than I do. Just take a look up, and I'm gonna level this, and I want you to tell me if there's any. I'll tell you when this level's good. So my Hamsky level's perfect right there. How are we?
Just a hair bubbled to the right.
Okay, so
just a hair though.
Okay, so we need to just go just a touch more.
Yeah, or tighten on one side more.
Is it right on?
Right on.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So we're perfect.
Yeah.
So now, if you have that same 40-yard, you know, downhill 35-degree angle shot on a side hill, and you level up, it's going to track.
Yeah.
It's going to follow that. It's going to follow that sight pin perfectly.
I see exactly what you're saying.
Hey, look at there. We are really close. Everything's set. And you know, that's our very first hole through paper, which, you know, just by eyeballing and everything, we got a center shot set perfect and everything. We're really close there. And so we're going to shoot it again. Wheel timing's good and everything. We are just ever so slightly left. I mean, we're talking like an eighth of an inch at 4 yards left. And you know, the walk back tuning, so this, you know, walk back tuning is awesome, but this cuts to chase, and we got to be particular on how we read the paper. And so, like, I've done a ton of French tuning, and you know, I do a cross, a level cross, and I'll sight in at 20 yards on the cross. And so your 20-yard pin's on the cross. Then I'm gonna back up to 40, and I'm gonna use it on a 48 by 48 bale. I'm gonna back up, and I'm gonna shoot my 20 at that same cross.
Gotcha.
And then and if it follows, if it drives follows, I'm golden.
Okay.
And so 90% of the time, paper tuning, and I'd say 95% of the time, we can paper tune perfect holes, and you can go out and you can try your French tune, and it's going to fall right in there.
We will.
Perfectly.
Okay.
If your arrows are stiff enough, you got the right spine of arrows, and the bow timing set, you know, and your yoke tuning set, everything's perfect. You're going to walk back, and you're going to do your walk back tuning. It's going to follow. You're going to, I'm golden.
Okay.
And it's a good double check. It's a really good double check.
Good idea to do later on.
But you know, we're going to shoot it again, and we're going to check it again, and then I'm going to go, we're going to go clean it up, because we don't want to set this anywhere but center. So the rest is set center, so we're shooting out of the center of the riser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and I'm going to put, you know, a turn in this, and I'm going to take a turn out of this, and we're going to see if it changes our hole just slightly.
Gotcha.
And actually, if anybody that's paper tuning, it's always hard with 4 fletches to see.
I was wondering about that,
because it
because
just
I've
blows
seen-
that big hole, and
Yeah.
you kind of put it back. And so 3 fletches, everybody's seen paper holes with 3 fletches. So I've actually got Trent's throwing us together a 3 fletch arrow that we can judge off of it a little bit better.
Gotcha.
So let's try this again.
Man, the bow is smooth.
Oh yeah, it's quiet too.
It's smooth.
Beautiful. And Trent, I like your form. Your form's looking good. So we're gonna look at this again and see our fletches aren't as tall here. We're just slightly left. That was about a half a shaft there.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna touch the rest. We're not gonna monkey with
We'll
the rest.
leave the rest where it's at.
The rest is right where it's at, and I'm gonna go yoke tune it. So, the same side that we're getting the rip on
Here.
you know, which we ripped slightly left. So we're gonna take 1 full out of this, and this isn't gonna change our wheel timing because we're doing it equally.
So if you do it equal, it won't change anything.
Right.
Okay, I got you.
And so then we're gonna put 1 full turn in this. So there's 1 full turn. And so we're gonna go back out and we're gonna see what's changed, you know, what changes we made with just that small adjustment. So we come up here and you can see we have, we have 4 equal fletches. That fletch, that 4 fletch there, that one there, and that one there are all equal with just that small adjustment.
Wow.
Now Trent, there is a portion of this that we should discuss, especially for everybody. So beards, and you have slight beards.
Sure.
But beards, it's craziest thing. You can come in with a beard and it'll kick that arrow. And what happens with the string is the string comes off, and then it tries to recorrect and it crosses over like an overskid on a car. It crosses over and it lets that arrow go this way.
Gotcha.
And so 2 things: beards or face pressure. So, you know, so if
you're coming too hard down on the string.
yeah. So if I come in with my anchor, I'm gonna come in and, you know, and if you can do the same pressure every time, it's gonna kick it the same every time. But it's best to, you know, draw, sneak into that anchor, and soft touch.
Okay.
And then guys with beards, there's 2 ways. If they draw back and they draw back and they're coming into the beard like this, it's gonna kick it. But if they draw and then they come in from the front, So they're pushing
It'll
it.
push it.
It pushes it.
I see
And
what you're
and it's the craziest thing. And you think, oh, that's not a big issue. I've dealt with it a lot.
Really?
And I've seen guys that'll just come in and have a bushy, and there's no way.
You can't.
And I'll go, just pull your hand away. So they'll pull their hand away. Shoots a perfect bullet hole. You know, pull it into the beard, it'll rip. You know, half an inch.
Really?
You know,
That much?
Yeah.
Huh.
Had a guy that shaved a lightning bolt in his beard one time, and he shaved it to where the lightning bolt looked pretty cool on both sides.
We're not doing that.
Not doing
that. We're thinking about
And
it.
it came in to where it didn't touch his start looking really good.
Perfect.
Right there. But let's just double check it. Always like to double check
Okay.
everything. So
And you shoot the same arrow pretty much every time?
for tuning,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Wayne.
and so yeah. And we're looking really good right there. But I want to change one thing on your form.
Yeah.
So staging. Everybody's watched, you know, baseball since they were a kid. You
Yeah.
watch the pros go into that base, they dig in, they dig that, you know, they readjust their front hand a million times. And see, that's even cleaner right there.
Right.
That's
because
even
of
a
that bow hand.
Yeah, that's even a cleaner hole right there because there was no readjustment
Gotcha.
after the draw.
Gotcha. Okay.
I want you to draw. I want you to look at your target. I want you to draw. And I want you to, when you come into your anchor, I want you to do it with your eyes closed. Now, you may have to tip the head right or left.
Yeah.
But I want you to even bring your fingers around and let them lay down on that trigger.
Okay.
And then I just want you just to open just your dominant eye.
Okay.
Because that's going to show you a perfect circle. And if it's high or low, you're going to know it. So just open just the right eye.
Man, that's about perfect.
Well, we got lucky. Go ahead and try that 20-yard spot there. Yeah, we'll have you dialed in and just about right there. Where's that other arrow? We're gonna shoot it in the X right off the get-go. 2 arrows.
2-arrow tune. That's what we call that.
Maybe try that yellow one that's just to the right of that. And so walk through that procession, that same, you know, feet, front hand, make sure that front hand's set. Nice soft anchor. There you go. It's just a hair low.
Just a touch low. That's perfect. We can fix that.
Cool.
So the Peep's good. I mean, I felt good about it.
So I'm
Peep.
going to go do some sewing on
Yeah,
this,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I'll show you how we sew that all in. So I call this a snake weave. Comes apart quick if we need it to come apart, and doesn't ever slip.
I gotcha.
And the process here is to there again, that draw board and back comes in really handy here, you know. So, and this is just as old school as you get. There's all kinds of fancy ways to tie a peep in, but I like pinching it on both ends, you know, and then coming up. And if anybody's tying in this method, there's the key right there. That locks it in. If you don't come back up in and lock, it'll slip loose.
I gotcha.
You know, them being
That's the
served.
other key right there. So all golden there.
So we are done here. Wayne went all the way through. It was really educational, actually, to me, just to see all that stuff. Everything from tuning to cam, turning strings to sight tapes and everything else. So it was awesome. But bow's dialed. Now we just have to take it to the range. Thank you, Bow Rack. Big shout out, guys. There was a guy in there from South Carolina, flew in yesterday.
New Jersey, but close.
Was it New Jersey?
Yep.
Okay. There was a guy in that just came in today. He flew in from New Jersey to get his bow worked on by the Bow Rack. So they are awesome pro shop. They do a great job, and just good people to hang out with too. So thank you, Bow Rack. Thank you, Wayne, and hope you guys learned something on this video.